Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our office, office of the Senator Government. But today, this afternoon, we have leaders from civil society across the country, and I have to say, I'm a legal practitioner with us in the building. I'd like to start off by thanking you for coming up at a very short notice for this press conference. Perhaps you should start with some quick introductions, just so you know who is there. My name is Ibrahim Tomi. I am the Executive Director of Center for Accountability on the Law.
And I am Marcela Sambas, the Executive Director for Campaign for the Governance.
Alphonsus Bienvani, Executive Secretary, Human Rights Defenders Network.
John Paul Abdul Karim Habib, National Coordinator, Network Movement for Democracy and Human Rights.
Demba Barry, practicing barrister of High Court of Sierra Leone and one of the lawyers for Mr. Costa.
All right. So during the Q&A session, just so you know, we have prepared a statement, but I'll tell you what it is about in a minute. And there'll be a Q&A session. In the Q&A session, I encourage you all to introduce yourselves before you ask your questions. Now, why are we here this afternoon? We're here because this morning, a Liberian civil rights activist, Mr. Henry P. Costa, on his way to the United States of America, was arrested at the Leone International Airport. We have been told on the orders of the Liberian government. We, the leaders present here, are certainly concerned by this development, and we have responded in our own way, of course with support from his lawyers, and have put together a statement. It's a brief statement which we'll read out to you, and we'll open it up for question and answer session. On that note, I am pleased to introduce Madam Marcela Sambas and ask her to kindly read the statement on behalf of civil society.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim Tomi. Statement by civil society leaders in Sierra Leone on the arrest of Liberian civil rights activist Henry P. Costa, 15th January 2020. We, the undersigned civil society leaders in Sierra Leone, are deeply concerned about the arrest of Henry P. Costa, the leader of Liberia's Council of Patriots, who was traveling to the United States of America via Sierra Leone's international airport. While the government of Sierra Leone has not provided any public statement on the reasons of his arrest, we have been reliably informed that Mr. Costa was arrested reportedly on the orders of the Liberian government. As of now, we are not aware of any charges being preferred by the Liberian government against Mr. Costa. And we believe that the only reason the government of Liberia is pursuing him is because of his leadership role in the 30th December 2019 nationwide protest in Liberia. We believe that Mr. Costa's right to demonstrate is guaranteed under both Liberian and international law, and we strongly condemn the Liberian government's attempt to punish him for exercising his right. In the light of the above, we urge the government of Sierra Leone to immediately release Mr. Costa and allow him to travel to the United States of America or his preferred destination. We further urge the government of Sierra Leone to reject any extradition request from the Liberian government, as we are reliably informed that if extradited to Liberia, Mr. Costa will be severely tortured by the WIA administration. The Sierra Leone government has an obligation under both national and international law to protect human rights and should not be seen as facilitating the abuse or violation of such rights. Should the Sierra Leone government extradite Mr. Costa to Liberia, it will be equally blamed for any abuses or violation to which he may be subject. Certainly have far-reaching implications for Sierra Leone's human rights credential and its international image. The following organizations have signed up: Human Rights Defenders Network, Partnership for Justice, Network Movements for Democracy and Human Rights, Campaign for Human Rights and Development International, and Amnesty International. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to take your questions, and obviously if you have any comments to make, we are also happy to take those comments. But before you do, Mr. Barrow, would you like to make a short statement as one of the large representatives?
We are happy to have you all here. This has been an ongoing development since the start of the morning, and we made tremendous efforts to see that some success has been achieved. We've done our bit. All we are asking basically is to have all hands on deck to do our best we could help get this young man out, so we could go to wherever preferred destination we have to push it to go. We know the situation at hand, and for those of us that have been following the trend in Liberia, we know what is happening. So all we are asking, we do not want to get ourselves in an issue that will probably boil down to what we may not have been expecting. So all we are asking is to ensure that we have him out and he's safe, because his family members and other relatives and not concerned persons from other countries are calling, and we are under so much pressure as we speak. So we are asking the government and all concerned persons and institutions to help us all to ensure that he's living to us as we actually intended. I think that will be all for now.
All right. Yes.
Mr. Estimates, I work with Radio Democracy and this one. You said he was traveling by I want to know where was he coming from? If he was coming from Liberia, why was he not arrested in Liberia?
Yes, let's take the questions we provide. Yes?
Ms. Kamara. And then why did he not travel from Liberia? Instead he preferred to come to Sierra Leone. And then secondly, when he came to Sierra Leone, did he notify civil society that was here?
Yes.
I'm a colleague and I work for and I was following this. I was following Costa this morning. I saw a post on social media that he's in good hands. The authorities in Sierra Leone have not treated him in any bad manner or whatever. But then, have you talked to him or anybody has shaken to him? Because the post on social media might be coercing that it's not under the arrest or whatever, it's not under any investigation. Have you talked to him on the investigation?
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, we'll take those and then we'll come back again. We have additional questions.
Yes, again, Mr. Estimates, again. I want to know if he traveled to Sierra Leone through by road or by air. Was it transiting here or it is right here?
I think the first question is, where was he traveling from? Obviously, he was traveling from Liberia. And definitely, Mr. Costa was not arrested in Liberia. So, if he was pursued or whatever, he finally found himself in Sierra Leone. I mean, he's an activist and he's now in Sierra Leone. His wife, the movement, is not a criminal, he has not committed any offense. To date, we have not got any information as to what crime Mr. Costa has committed. So, in that regard, I think if he finds himself in Sierra Leone, his rights must be respected and protected. He was coming from Liberia, obviously, and he was not arrested in Liberia. I think I'll also take the second one. If you notify civil society is a network.
Yeah.
It's a network of organizations. We have the human rights defenders here. And when you touch any one of us, you touch all of us. So it's a network, and it's a concern in the course of doing our work. I don't think our lives should be at risk.
Yeah. On the question of whether we have spoken to him, no, we haven't spoken to him, but we have been repeatedly reassured that he's safe, he's fine, and we have no reasons at this point to believe that he's been mistreated. We have had discussions with people who are basically, I'm trying to choose my words as you can appreciate. We've had discussions with people who are in touch with him, let me put it that way. We've had discussions with people who are in touch with him, and we're convinced that he's fine.
Yeah, but probably just to add to that, I also spoke with the officer in Leone, at least because he was taken to the Leone police station for safe custody by the immigration department. So we engaged the police officer, and the discussion suggests that he is in good hands and he has not been maltreated in the hands of the police.
Yeah, but you did not answer why you don't travel from.
No, okay. I can travel. Somebody can travel anywhere as long as he's an equal citizen. He has the right to come here. Probably, if there are times if I want to travel, if Guinea, I realize that in my ticket it is cheaper for me to get a flight from Guinea to go. I can travel from Sierra Leone to go to Guinea and take a flight and travel where I want to go. So it has no major implication.
Yes, I asked earlier that did he book his flight here or was it in transit? Because I know, for example, KQ, Kenya Airways, travel like from Ghana, drop in Sierra Leone and go to Liberia, sometimes drop in Liberia. The passengers might not get down. Was it on some of those situations or one of those instances that he was arrested, or did he book his flight here?
Okay, so I know it's a technical question in the sense that if he was on transit, it's completely different than if he originally booked his flight from Sierra Leone. My understanding is that he booked his flight from Sierra Leone. It wasn't on transit. He booked his flight from Sierra Leone.
So he entered Sierra Leone by road or on air?
I wouldn't know, but he found himself at the international airport and wanted to leave the country. And again, we have the ECOWAS protocol of free movement, so he was entirely entitled to be in Sierra Leone. And as Mr. Bani said, it was within his rights to have flown from Freetown or Conakry. But clearly, if you follow news, just so for viewers and listeners, if you follow news on Liberia, you know that Mr. Costa is a civil rights activist. He led the December 30th, 2019 protest, nationwide protest against the Weah administration. So the Weah administration certainly is on his case. They wouldn't let him travel out of Liberia, so he wanted to travel out of the region from Sierra Leone, which again he was entirely entitled to. That was how he found himself there, and which is why we are saying that the government of Sierra Leone must release him and allow him to travel to his preferred destination, whether it's back to Liberia, United States, or wherever he chooses to go. That's the only thing. And why are we asking? We are human rights defenders ourselves. We are human rights activists ourselves. We certainly don't want any one of us to be caught in such a situation, because it is our conviction, and I speak to you also as a lawyer. This lawyer is here. We have not seen any charges or indictment preferred against Mr. Costa in Liberia. And we believe that he has the right to travel to wherever he chooses to, as long as he has the requisite travel documents. Yeah.
In any case, the government of Sierra Leone decides to send him back to Liberia, what should be the outcome of this mentioned organization?
Yes, madam.
Okay,
I'm Lucian Pulanda from AYD TV. I may want to know, because just now you said you haven't received any tangible reason why this man should be detained or should stop not to go wherever he wants to go. So as human rights defenders, you want to get him out, you want to get him to go wherever he wants to go. Have you also inquired why he's being stopped?
Oh yeah, why it stops? Definitely, we just said that. This man has led a protest, nationwide protest in Liberia, and he's somebody, a civil rights activist who thinks that his rights, it's under, again I'm choosing my words. So we have to know that while he feels that his life is threatened, it's also our responsibility to call on the authorities who are under, a number of agreements and covenants and have signed up to a number of legal frameworks to protect that right. And that is all we are doing. And I think as the lawyers have made it clear, Mr. Costa has not violated any law, and we have not seen any charges profiled against him. To date, we have not seen anything to that nature.
Okay, if the government of Sierra Leone decides to extradite him to Liberia, as we have indicated in our press release, we have been reliably informed, and we have no reason to doubt what we have been told, that if he is sent back to Liberia, he will be severely tortured. And we believe that our government, the government of Sierra Leone, has an obligation under international law to ensure that it doesn't act as an accomplice, in the potential violation of rights. Now, if the government were to ignore our call and send him to Liberia, and he gets tortured, the government certainly will share, obviously have a large share of the blame in that abuse. But more than that, as we have indicated in the statement, it will reflect poorly on our human rights credentials as a government. But also remember that we have Sierra Leoneans in Liberia. Also remember that Mr. Costa is somebody who can mobilize 1 million people and more in Liberia. So you understand what that means for our citizens who live in Liberia. This is why we urge the government of Sierra Leone to think about it, have a really comprehensive, a holistic view of the situation before making any decision one way or the other. But our position is very clear. The Liberian government had an opportunity, if they had any legitimate case against Mr. Costa, to have arrested and detained him. They allowed him. He was walking freely in Liberia. He's found himself in Sierra Leone en route to the United States. Our government has no business to stop him. Let the Liberian people or government deal with its own problem. We shouldn't make this Israeli problem. It's not our problem. We have so many things as a country, as a government, that we should be concerned about at the moment. Let us leave the problem.
I would like to say, Sierra Leone should have left him travel and then let the Liberian government arrest him.
If they had any reason to detain him, he ought to have been in detention in the first place rather than traveling. So they are sadly trying to, as we say, use the harmful fire, and we should be bigger than that as a country and as a government. Which is why we are again urging the government to, release him and allow him to travel safely out of the country. Any further questions? Okay, in the absence of any other questions, I'd like to bring this to a close. Thank you very much for coming, and we hope to see ourselves in your newspapers, on our TV screens, and certainly hear ourselves on the radio. I'd like to talk to you guys. Give me 5 minutes. I'll be back with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the press conference from civil society organizations in Sierra Leone for the relief of Henry P. Costa.